Hey everybody, it is Paint Pouring Sandy, and in this video I'm going to be working on this hexagon tile. This was a request by a customer. She saw this 3x3 panel that I had done with the opposing negative spaces with this really cool dirty pour down the middle, and so she would like me to try and recreate something similar. She knows it's not going to be exact, but something similar with these colors on a tile pot holder, and then she would also like some tile coasters that will go with this as well. So in this video I'm going to be working on the hexagon pot holder, or I think it's also called a trinket, that she can put on her table. I will finish and seal this in resin in another video later on after everything's had a chance to dry. But what I've done is I've gone ahead and washed off this tile to get any sort of dust, debris, anything that could have been there from the store I bought it at, which was Lowe's, and then, you know, fingerprints, anything like that, get that all washed off so that way I've got a great surface to work on. So in keeping with this style, what I want to do is I'm going to take this bamboo coffee stirrer, and I'm just going to kind of lay this down the middle here, just so I've got an idea of kind of where I want to divide my white and my black. And then I'm going to use this straw, this big smoothie straw that I cut off about 1.5 inches of, and I'm going to use this as my dirty pour cup, quote unquote, because it's not going to take much paint in the middle to recreate this. So the colors we're going to be working with tonight are my basic white house paint, which is what I use for all of my whites. It is pre-mixed with Floetrol and a little bit of water, and then I've got just black. I think this is Delta Creative, just regular black acrylic paint that I've got, again, pre-mixed with Floetrol in here. So I'm going to flood each of these sides white and black, and then the other colors we're going to use tonight are Color Shift Green Flash. This is a custom pre-mixed, almost baby blue, like a pastel turquoisey color. Neon Purple, brushed metal, brushed antique gold. This is a door paint that is called Tranquil, and it's really, really cool. I love it, and I'm going to use this color. And then I've also got Color Shift Purple Flash in here as well. All of my colors, with the exception of my black and white, are pre-mixed with Floetrol and have a few drops of silicone in there as well. So these are all the colors I'm going to be using here tonight. So I'm going to start with flooding my sides, then I'll lift this up, and then I'll use my dirty pour. Hopefully that'll all make sense as we get going here. So I'm gonna get this all flooded. And any of you that have seen my videos will know I will teach you, if you wipe off your utensils immediately, it will save you, I promise, the headaches later on down the road. And I'm just going to torch my white here. I want to get some of these bubbles out. And then I'm going to duplicate that process over here on the left with the black. Oh goodness. There's a giant chunk of something right there in my black. We want to get that out because we don't want that to dry on our piece. That could be Floetrol snot. It could be many things. Time will truly tell us what that is. Okay. So now I'm going to try and lift up this bamboo here. There we go. Let's say we should be left with a relatively neat line there. Not that that's super important because that middle part is going to get paint over it anyway. I know some of you that watch my videos get annoyed at how much I clean my hands and my utensils, but if you clean it, you can reuse it much quicker, and you can reuse your materials. It's better. And then if my hands aren't quite so dirty, I'm not contaminating my color spaces, which to me is important. So again, I'm just going to torch my paint real quick here. Just want to get some of those bubbles out. And then what we'll do here is, I think for me, it's going to be easier if I start down here and move that way. It's interesting that we are starting to see some little cells right here in the middle, and I don't even have any form of silicone going on in there. So that's interesting to me. I'm going to start this about an inch or so up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a few drops of each color. Let's do maybe 3 drops. It's really not going to take much here. Gold is a little tricky just because I don't have it in a container that I can just drip this out of, so just see how this goes. Just leave that in there for a moment because I think I'll do another few drops here. And then I'll do a few drops of white. It's looking really pretty in there. And then I'm going to go back and do a few drops of each color. I'm just going to do 2 drops this time. Oh hell. Maybe we'll do 3. Do the 3 drops. Just for consistency. And since I did white last time, I'm just going to put a few little drops of black in here. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this up to about an inch or so from the edge. And just going to kind of gradually work that up here. We're already starting to get some really cool cells going on here. I think that's going to be really awesome. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy little straw here. This straw has been with me through pretty much every single one of my paintings, and I'm just going to start to kind of blow this around and see what kind of awesomeness we can get from this. And the reason why I wanted it to end a little bit away from the edges is so that I would have room to blow the paint out and have it go places and create really cool things. right. Well, I actually really love this. I am going to stop right here in terms of blowing it out. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and just make sure that all of my edges of my tile are covered. And then I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to let it dry. Now, this is a non-porous surface. So, in my experience, it's going to take a bit longer to dry. So I'm not expecting this to be dry by morning type of thing like most of my canvases are, especially here in North Texas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to let it set here for several days, and I'll come back to it once it is dry, and I'll show you all what this looks like in the daylight. But in terms of messing with the tendrils and everything like that, I'm going to leave this alone and just let this dry all on its own. And like I said, I'll bring you back once it's dry, and we'll see what it looks like in the sunlight. One thing I did want to mention to y'all is I do try when I'm making my pieces to put colors that will work well together next to each other. I've learned the hard way about getting muddy pours, and one thing you'll notice, like with the colors that I used tonight, for example, I put a green and a blue together, a blue and a purple, purple and gold, gold and teal, and then teal and purple. In that order, they tend to work well together. And then I put a drop of white between my layers so that my metallic purple and my metallic green would play well together. And so far in this piece, they really have. They've worked really pretty well together. The other thing that I also try and do is I try and alternate metallic and non-metallic pieces if I am going to mix those mediums, simply because I feel like it gives it more depth, unless I'm going for an all metallic or an all non-metallic piece. But I've definitely noticed that alternating them like I did tonight, metallic, non, and then metallic, non, and then metallic again, again gives it some depth and creates some really cool effects once it's dry. That's what I did in this piece, and hopefully you can see how the metallics play well and come out looking really pretty neat. As you move the piece in the light, it creates some really cool effects. So that's what I'm really kind of going for on this one as well. So like I said, I'm going to leave this alone except for just finishing up my edges of my tile, and then I'm going to let this dry, and I'll bring y'all back once it is. All right, everybody. So this is actually, believe it or not, about 18 hours after I had poured this piece. It actually dried much quicker than I had anticipated. There's just a little bit of an area here. You can kind of see it in the light right here underneath my thumb that is still wet. But otherwise the rest of this piece is dry. So this is what it looks like once it's dry. And hopefully you guys can see the metallics in here. I know it's difficult, but they turned out really cool, really fun. This is going to be a great piece once I get the resin on it here in a few weeks once it's completely dry. But yeah, this turned out really awesome. I'm excited about it. I'm just going to let it continue to dry and completely finish curing. And then, like I said, I will go ahead and coat that in, seal that in resin, and it'll turn out really pretty awesome. Thank you so much to everyone that watches. If you've got questions on how I do anything, definitely drop me a comment and I'll get back to you on that. And if you have not subscribed, I greatly appreciate that, but most of all, I just really appreciate you watching. If you know someone else that might enjoy this, please share. But again, I appreciate the watches so much, and I hope y'all have enjoyed this, and I'll continue to bring you more content. Thanks so much.